The Kraxan warships hung in the void like obsidian daggers, their hulls adorned with pulsing crimson veins that seemed to drink in starlight. From their command bridges, admirals watched entire civilizations burn with the same detached interest one might show an insect colony. They had conquered 1,000 worlds, broken 100 empires, and now ruled over half the known galaxy with methodical brutality. Admiral Vexthor stood at his usual position aboard the flagship Eternal Night, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he reviewed the latest conquest reports. The Kraxan Empire's expansion proceeded exactly as calculated. Systems fell, resources were acquired, and resistance was cataloged and eliminated with mechanical precision. "Another petition for mercy, Admiral," his aide announced, voice tinged with amusement. "The Centaurian Alliance offers unconditional surrender." "Standard response," Vexthor replied without looking up. The standard response was well known throughout the galaxy: complete subjugation or complete annihilation. There were no negotiations, no treaties, and certainly no mercy. But far from the Kraxans' attention, on a seemingly unremarkable world called Earth, humanity was about to change everything. In a deep underwater facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, the United Earth Defense Council gathered for what would become the most important meeting in human history. "The Kraxan Empire will reach our sector within 5 years," Admiral Sarah Chen announced to the assembled leaders. The holographic display showed the inexorable advance of Kraxan forces, system by system, like a cancer spreading across the galaxy. "Traditional military doctrine suggests we have 2 options: surrender or fight a conventional war we cannot win." Murmurs of discontent filled the chamber. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Their fleet, while technologically advanced, was tiny compared to the vast armadas of the Kraxan Empire. "But I'm proposing a third option," Chen continued, her voice cutting through the noise. "Operation Ghostwalker. 1 ship, 1 crew, 1 chance to prove that humanity deserves its place among the stars." The hologram shifted to show a sleek vessel unlike anything in Earth's current fleet. The ESS Intrepid represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a perfect fusion of stolen Kraxan technology and human innovation. The Kraxan believe themselves invincible because they've never faced an enemy who thinks like us, Chen explained. "They've conquered species far more advanced than humanity, but they've never encountered our particular talent for asymmetric warfare." The council chamber erupted in heated debate. Some called it suicide. Others labeled it a waste of resources. But Chen had anticipated every objection. "The Kraxans' greatest weakness is their absolute certainty in their superiority," she continued. "They'd grown complacent. Their tactics are predictable. Their supply lines are exposed. And most importantly, they've created an entire galaxy of potential allies who would jump at any chance to break their chains." She gestured to the Intrepid's schematics. "This ship incorporates everything we've learned from studying recovered Kraxan technology. But instead of simply copying their designs, we've adapted them in ways they'd never imagine. Ways that go against their rigid military doctrine." The ship's unique features highlighted themselves one by one: metamaterial cloaking systems, gravity wave manipulators, quantum entanglement communicators, and weapons that defied conventional physics. The Intrepid can strike without warning, vanish without a trace, and inspire hope in places where the Kraxan thought they'd crushed it forever, Chen declared. "We don't need to defeat their entire empire. We just need to show the galaxy that they can be defeated." Hours of debate followed, but in the end, the council voted. Operation Ghostwalker was approved. Within weeks, the ESS Intrepid rose from its underwater berth, its crew of 300 representing the finest Earth had to offer. As Chen stood on the bridge of her new command, she felt the weight of not just humanity's future, but the future of countless oppressed civilizations resting on her shoulders. The Kraxan Empire had never faced an enemy like humanity: adaptable, unpredictable, and absolutely unwilling to accept tyranny. "All stations report ready, Admiral," her XO announced. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Send word to command. Operation Ghostwalker is commencing. Let's show these tyrants why they should have feared Earth all along. The Intrepid's engines flared to life, and humanity's boldest gambit began. In the vast darkness between the stars, a single ship carried with it the hopes of billions. The Craxan Empire was about to learn that sometimes the smallest opponent could strike the deadliest blow. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy dared to dream of freedom. And humanity was about to prove why you should never underestimate a species that had spent its entire history overcoming impossible odds. The Craxan supply convoy moved through the darkness of space with arrogant confidence. 50 heavily armed freighters, each carrying enough resources to fuel a planetary invasion, maintained perfect formation as they had for centuries. Their escort ships flew predetermined patterns, sensors sweeping space with methodical precision. None of them detected the ESS Intrepid, hanging motionless in the void, its revolutionary metamaterial hull absorbing both light and sensor waves. Target analysis complete. Admiral, Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez reported from her tactical station. Convoys carrying enough antimatter to power their frontier fleets for months. Destroying it would cripple their next expansion wave. Admiral Chen studied the tactical display, noting the clockwork precision of the Craxan patrol routes. Their rigid adherence to doctrine, once their greatest strength, had become a fatal weakness. Time until they reached the gravity shoal. Chen asked. 3 minutes, Admiral. The escort ships are already adjusting their formation exactly as predicted. The gravity shoal, a region of distorted space created by the Intrepid's quantum manipulators, was invisible to Craxan sensors. They detected only a minor gravitational anomaly, the kind their ships routinely compensated for using predetermined protocols. Commence Operation Starfall, Chen ordered. The Intrepid's weapons were unlike anything the Craxan had encountered. Instead of conventional energy beams or missile salvos, they fired precisely calibrated gravitational pulses. As the convoy entered the shoal, these pulses intersected with the distorted spacetime, creating a cascade of destructive interference. The results were devastating. Supply ships found their artificial gravity fields inverted, their antimatter containment systems subjected to forces they were never designed to handle. The Craxan escorts, moving to their textbook defensive positions, only made themselves more vulnerable. Multiple containment failures detected, Rodriguez reported with clinical detachment. Antimatter breaches in vessels 7 through 12. Chain reaction spreading through the formation. The convoy erupted in a series of silent explosions, each blast triggering the next. The escort ships, trained to protect against external attacks, had no protocols for this kind of internal cascade failure. But Chen wasn't finished. As debris from the explosions spread outward, the Intrepid's quantum communicators activated, broadcasting on frequencies the Craxan thought impossible to access. To all oppressed peoples of the galaxy, Chen's message began, translated simultaneously into 100 alien languages. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. Today, we struck a blow against those who would rule through fear. Today, we showed that the Craxan Empire is not invincible. The message would spread faster than the Craxan could suppress it, carried by quantum entanglement channels they couldn't detect or block. For the first time, resistance movements across conquered worlds could coordinate, sharing intelligence and resources through the Intrepid's secure network. Multiple emergency broadcasts detected from Craxan command channels. Communications Officer Puddle reported. They're trying to deny our existence, claiming the convoy was destroyed by a natural phenomenon. Chen smiled. Perfect. Let them deny us. Every denial only proves their fear. The Intrepid slipped away as silently as it had arrived, leaving behind a graveyard of burning ships and a message of hope that would echo across the stars. But their victory had not gone unnoticed by all. On a dozen conquered worlds, subjugated species watched their Craxan overlords scramble to explain the inexplicable. In hidden resistance bases, alien warriors studied footage of the attack, marveling at tactics that defied conventional military logic. And in the highest towers of the Kraxan Empire, ancient admirals felt something they hadn't experienced in centuries: doubt. Emergence point plotted. Navigator Wilson announced, "Ready to jump on your command." Chen took one last look at the tactical display, at the chaos they'd created with a single precisely calculated strike. "Take us out, Navigator. We have more targets to hit." The Intrepid vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a mystery that would haunt the Kraxan Empire. They had built their dominion on the assumption that they had seen every possible form of warfare, had an answer for every type of attack. But humanity had just rewritten the rules of engagement, and the game was only beginning. In the ship's mess hall, off-duty crew gathered to celebrate their first major victory. But Chen kept to her quarters, planning the next strike. Because she knew the truth, they hadn't just destroyed a convoy today. They'd shattered something far more valuable: the myth of Kraxan invincibility. The real war, she knew, would be fought in the minds of trillions of oppressed beings across the galaxy. Every successful strike, every impossible victory, would feed a growing belief that resistance was possible, that tyranny could be defeated, that the future wasn't written in stone but could be reshaped by those brave enough to defy the odds. And humanity, with its strange blend of innovation, adaptability, and sheer stubborn defiance, was about to teach the galaxy's greatest empire a lesson it would never forget. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? Breaking Point. I can maintain this tension while escalating the conflict and revealing more about both humanity's advantages and the increasing desperation of the Kraxan Empire. Admiral Vex Thor's fist slammed into the holographic display, distorting the image of yet another destroyed Kraxan fleet. 6 months of humiliation. 6 months of watching supply lines shatter, outposts fall, and the impossible spread of rebellion across formerly pacified sectors. "Find them," he roared, his scales flushing dark with rage. "I want every ship, every probe, every resource we have dedicated to hunting down this human vessel." But aboard the ESS Intrepid, Admiral Chen watched the Kraxan response with grim satisfaction. Every capital ship diverted to hunting them meant another system left vulnerable, another opportunity for conquered peoples to rise up. Multiple distress calls detected. Officer Puddle reported, his voice tight with concern. "The Kraxan are conducting reprisal attacks. They're targeting civilian populations on any world suspected of aiding resistance movements." Chen's satisfaction turned to ash in her mouth as the casualty reports began streaming in. This was the response she feared. The Kraxan answering their precise surgical strikes with indiscriminate slaughter. "New transmission," Paddle continued. It's from the Arethi refugee fleet. They're under heavy attack. 15 Kraxan destroyers against civilian ships." The Arethi, a species of crystalline beings who had helped the Intrepid decrypt Kraxan communication protocols. Their entire civilization had been reduced to a fleet of refugee ships, carrying the last survivors of their species. "Plot an intercept course," Chen ordered, knowing she was about to risk everything they'd accomplished. The Intrepid's success had relied on hitting soft targets and avoiding direct confrontation. Engaging 15 destroyers would mean breaking their own rules of engagement. "Admiral," her XO cautioned, "if we lose the Intrepid, we lose everything. The resistance, the network, the hope we've built. If we let them slaughter the Arethi, we lose our soul." Chen cut him off. Humanity didn't come to the stars to hide in shadows while innocents die. Battle stations. The Intrepid dropped out of hyperspace behind the Kraxan battle group, its presence immediately announced by a barrage of gravitational pulses that twisted 2 destroyers into unrecognizable shapes. But the element of surprise couldn't blast against such overwhelming numbers. Multiple missile launches detected. Rodriguez called out as the Kraxan ships turned to engage. "They're using wide dispersion patterns. They've learned from our previous encounters." The bridge rocked as the first hits breached their metamaterial armor. The Intrepid's revolutionary defenses were designed for stealth, not sustained combat against capital ships. Reactor containment at 60%. Engineering reported. We can't take much more of this. Chen watched as the Arathi ships tried to escape, their crystalline hulls reflecting the light of weapon impacts. They were almost to the safety of the gravity shoals, where the Kraxan ships wouldn't be able to follow. Almost. Divert all power to forward shields, she ordered. Plot a collision course with the lead destroyer. Her crew didn't hesitate, didn't question. They'd followed her into the impossible before. The Intrepid surged forward, its engines straining as it accelerated toward the largest Kraxan vessel. They're powering up their main guns, Rodriguez warned. Hold course, Chen commanded. Time until Arathi ships reach safety. 30 seconds. The space between ships lit up with energy weapons and missile trails. The Intrepid's shields flickered and failed in sections, but still they pressed forward. 20 seconds. The Kraxan destroyer's main gun reached full charge. 10 seconds. Now, Chen shouted. At the last possible moment, the Intrepid released its secret weapon, a modified version of the gravity pulse technology, but pushed far beyond safe limits. The pulse caught the destroyer's energy beam just as it fired, turning the weapon's own power against it. The resulting explosion consumed 3 more Kraxan ships and created a sensor-blinding wave of radiation, perfect cover for the Arathi's final sprint to safety. But the Intrepid paid a terrible price. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Damage control reported. We've lost 40% of our weapon systems. Engineering reports critical damage to the stealth systems. Through the chaos, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Arathi ships vanished into the gravity shoals, carrying with them the seeds of their civilization's rebirth. The remaining Kraxan vessels, damaged and disoriented, couldn't pursue. Get us out of here, she ordered. Random jumps until we find somewhere to effect repairs. As the Intrepid limped away from the battlefield, Chen knew they'd crossed a threshold. The Kraxan would analyze this battle, adapt their tactics, strengthen their defenses. The easy victories of their early campaign were over. But they'd also shown something important, that humanity wouldn't abandon its allies, wouldn't sacrifice its principles for tactical advantage. The quantum communicators, damaged but functional, were already spreading word of the battle. In hidden bases and resistance cells across the galaxy, the story would be told, how a single human ship had stood against overwhelming odds to protect civilian refugees, how the mighty Kraxan fleet had failed to destroy them. The legend was growing, becoming something even Chen hadn't anticipated. The Intrepid wasn't just a warship anymore. It was becoming a symbol of everything the Kraxan couldn't control or understand. And as Chen looked at her injured ship and exhausted crew, she knew that symbols, properly nurtured, could be more powerful than any weapon. Deep within a nebula that the Kraxan considered too unstable for habitation, the Intrepid drifted among clouds of ionized gas, its wounds slowly healing. The ship's original metamaterial hull had been compromised, forcing Chief Engineer Dr. Riapadal to implement the contingency she'd hoped to avoid. It's insane, she explained to Admiral Chen in the makeshift lab they'd set up in Cargo Bay 3. The Kraxan's technology is based on perfect replication, every ship identical, every system standardized. But they completely missed the potential of their own designs. Before them floated a strange substance, a hybrid of their damaged metamaterial armor and a crystalline technology he'd learned from the Arathi. Under a microscope, it seemed to pulse with its own internal rhythm. We're not just repairing the ship, Ria continued, her eyes bright with excitement. We're evolving it. The crystalline matrix can learn, adapt, grow stronger with each encounter. It's something the Kraxan would never attempt because it goes against their entire philosophy of warfare. The transformation took weeks. The Intrepid's hull became a living thing, integrating the salvaged Kraxan technology they'd collected and the gifts of knowledge from various alien allies, each component enhanced by human ingenuity and our unique willingness to experiment. But the Kraxan weren't idle. Admiral Vexthor had assembled the largest hunter-killer fleet in the Empire's history. 500 ships, their crews handpicked and their systems modified specifically to counter the Intrepid's known capabilities. The humans believe they can change the natural order. Vexthor addressed his commanders. They pollute pure military doctrine with their chaos, their unpredictability. Their existence is an offense to the Empire's perfection. As if in answer to his declaration, reports began flooding in of simultaneous uprisings across dozens of systems. The resistance network the Intrepid had built was moving into action, using tactics they'd learned from humans. Improvised weapons, hit-and-run attacks, and most disturbing of all, laughter in the face of death. Multiple Kraxan fleets are diverting to handle the rebellions. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported as the Intrepid's new sensors tracked the enemy movements. They're being forced to split their forces. Chen watched the tactical display with something approaching awe. The Kraxan response was exactly what they predicted, rigid, by-the-book deployment of overwhelming force. But against an enemy that refused to mass for conventional battle, their mighty fleets were being bled by 1,000 small cuts. "The ship is ready, Admiral," Rhea reported from engineering. "The new systems are. They're beyond anything we imagined. The hull doesn't just absorb energy weapons anymore. It processes them, learns from them. Every hit makes us stronger." Chen nodded, feeling the subtle vibration through the deck plates that suggested their hybrid technology was alive in ways they still didn't fully understand. "Send word through the network. It's time for Phase 3. Across the galaxy, resistance fighters received their orders, not through easily intercepted transmissions, but through the quantum-entangled crystals the Intrepid had distributed, each one carrying not just instructions, but hope in physical form. The Kraxan hunter-killer fleet moved through space in perfect formation, their sensors sweeping for any sign of their quarry. They were the finest ships in the Empire, commanded by veterans of 1,000 victories. They were prepared for every possible strategy, every rational tactical decision. They weren't prepared for the Intrepid to appear in the heart of their formation, its crystalline hull refracting sensor beams in impossible ways, its weapons transformed into something that defied traditional physics. "Multiple anomalies detected," Rodriguez called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "The hull is responding just like Dr. Patel predicted. It's learning from their attack patterns, adapting in real time." The battle that followed would be studied for centuries. A single ship, augmented by human innovation and alien wisdom, against the pride of an empire. The Intrepid's hull absorbed and redirected energy weapons, its crystalline structure growing stronger with each hit. Its gravity weapons, now enhanced by Arathi harmonics, created cascading waves of destruction through the perfectly ordered Kraxan ranks. But it wasn't just technology that gave them the edge. It was the human element, the ability to improvise, to see patterns and break them, to find hope in despair and humor in darkness. The Kraxan crews, trained to follow protocols, found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to delight in doing the unexpected. As the battle reached its climax, Chen realized they'd achieved something far more important than a military victory. They'd shown the galaxy that the future belonged not to those who could build the biggest fleets or enforce the strictest order, but to those who could adapt, cooperate, and grow. The Intrepid had become more than a ship. It had become proof that the universe was far too vast and wonderful to be controlled by any single doctrine or empire. Would you like me to continue with the final part, where we bring this epic confrontation to its conclusion? Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the inevitable domination, watching the real-time reports of his empire crumbling. The rebellion had spread like wildfire, each victory inspiring 3 more uprisings. But none of that mattered now. His spies had finally located the humans' homeworld. "Earth," he whispered, studying the holographic image of the blue planet. Such an insignificant world to have caused so much chaos. The inevitable domination led a fleet of over 1,000 ships, the largest armada ever assembled in Kraxan history. Their mission was simple: obliterate humanity's homeworld, ending the species that had dared to challenge the natural order. But aboard the Intrepid, now transformed into something beyond its original designer's wildest dreams, Admiral Chen had anticipated this moment. The quantum network hummed with activity as resistance forces throughout the galaxy mobilized. "They're moving exactly as predicted," she announced to her crew. "The Kraxan are so focused on finding Earth that they've left their core systems vulnerable. All resistance cells are in position." The inevitable domination's fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's solar system, expecting to find a helpless planet defended by a handful of primitive ships. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by a sphere of gravitational distortions, hundreds of overlapping gravity shoals created by resistance ships using technology shared by the Intrepid. Impossible. Vexthor raged as his perfect formation began to break apart, ships pulled in multiple directions by the conflicting gravitational forces. How dare they use our own space against us? But the trap was only beginning. From behind Earth's moon emerged a sight that made even veteran Kraxan commanders pause. The Intrepid, its crystalline hull now a kaleidoscope of living light, leading a fleet of hybrid vessels. Each ship was unique, a fusion of technologies from dozens of species, all enhanced by human creativity. "All ships, execute Operation Phoenix," Chen commanded. The resistance fleet moved in perfect symmetry, each vessel following patterns that seemed random but were actually part of a complex dance designed to exploit every weakness in Kraxan tactical doctrine. The battle that followed would be remembered as long as sentient beings looked up at the stars. The Kraxan's superior numbers meant nothing in the gravity shoals, where their rigid formations became a liability. Their standardized weapons were absorbed and redirected by crystalline hulls that grew stronger with each attack. But it was the final confrontation between the Intrepid and the inevitable domination that would become legend. Two ships, representing opposing philosophies of existence, engaged in a duel that bent space itself. "You could have joined us." Vexthor's transmission echoed across the command channel. Humans could have found their place within the Empire's perfect order. Chen's response was calm, almost pitying. "That's what you never understood. The universe isn't meant to be ordered. It's meant to be explored, questioned, and wondered at. Your empire tried to freeze the galaxy in a single perfect moment. We chose to embrace change." The Intrepid's hybrid hull, now more alive than machine, pulsed with accumulated energy as it approached the massive Kraxan flagship. Every battle, every adaptation, every lesson learned had led to this moment. "All power to the crystalline matrix," Chen ordered. "Show them what humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy really is." The Intrepid's hull began to resonate at frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, creating harmonics that interfaced directly with the fabric of space-time. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a demonstration of what was possible when different species worked together, when innovation was valued over tradition, when the future was embraced rather than feared. The inevitable domination's shields, designed to stop every known form of attack, proved useless against something that simply shouldn't have been possible. The mighty flagship began to break apart, its perfect systems undone by chaos theory made manifest. As Vexthor's ship died, the quantum network carried the image to every corner of the galaxy. The message was clear: the age of empires was over. The future belonged to those who could cooperate, adapt, and grow together. In the years that followed, Earth became not the capital of a new empire, but a meeting place where species could share knowledge and culture freely. The Intrepid's technology was shared with any civilization that promised to use it for exploration rather than conquest. And if you visit the Sol system today, you might see something remarkable. Ships of all designs and origins, each unique, each a testament to their builder's creativity, gathering around a small blue planet that taught the galaxy its greatest lesson. True strength lies not in enforcing order, but in embracing the beautiful chaos of collaboration and change. Admiral Chen retired from active service but never stopped exploring. She often said that humanity's real victory wasn't defeating the Kraxan Empire, it was showing the galaxy a better way to live among the stars. one where differences were celebrated, where innovation was unrestricted, and where the future remained forever unwritten, full of endless possibilities. The ESS Intrepid became a living monument, its crystalline hull still growing, still learning, still adapting. A reminder that in the vast darkness between the stars, the light of freedom and creativity would always find a way to shine.